Yesterday we have discussed in detail various models, various probability models, and how to find out the maximum likelihood estimators for that. We have seen here that the effect of changing the parameter space or effect of the prior information on the parameter space plays an important role in the maximum likelihood estimation, which makes it different from other methods such as unbiased estimation or the method of moments estimation. So, today I will explain this method with the help of several other examples, and we will discuss certain important large sample properties of the maximum likelihood estimators. Let me start with a couple of examples on discrete distributions. So, let us consider say a discrete uniform distribution. Let x 1, x 2, x n be a random sample from a discrete uniform distribution. So, a discrete uniform distribution is usually concentrated on n points, and normally we take the points from 1 to n, and each one will be equal probability. So, we can consider the probability mass function as follows, with probability mass function given by. So, we write p x k is equal to 1 by n, where k can take values 1 to n. Now, in this case there may not be any inference problem if we know on how many points the distribution is concentrated. The inference problem arises if we do not know how many points are there. So, this type of situation may arise where we know that each possibility is with equal probability, but how many possibilities are there, that may not be known. So, in that case we may be interested in estimating that number. So, we are assuming here that n is a positive unknown integer. So, we proceed as before, we write down the likelihood function, which is the joint distribution of x 1, x 2, x n. So, we consider points x 1 is equal to k 1, x 2 is equal to k 2, x n is equal to k n. So, we can write it in the following fashion. The likelihood function can be written as L n, and as I mentioned, we are considering the points k 1, k 2, k n, which are the observed values of the random variables x 1, x 2, x n respectively. So, that is equal to 1 by n to the power n, where each of the k i's can take values 1 to n for I is equal to 1 to n. Now, the problem here is to maximize this function with respect to n. As n is appearing in the denominator, it will be the minimum value of n. So, this will be maximized when n is taking the minimum value. Now, what is the minimum value of n that is possible here? So, this region we can write it in a more appropriate fashion, that k 1, suppose I order them k 2 up to k n, then the region can be written as 1 less than or equal to k 1 less than or equal to k 2 less than or equal to k n less than or equal to n. So, from here it is clear that the minimum value of n that is possible is the maximum value of k 1, k 2, k n, where k 1, k 2, k n are the ordered values of k 1, k 2, k n. So, L is maximized when n is minimum and it is attained when n is equal to k n. Now, k n corresponds to the largest order statistics here. So, we conclude that the maximum likelihood estimator of n is x n. You can notice the analogy with the continuous uniform distribution, which we discussed in the previous class. In the continuous uniform distribution on the interval 0 to theta, the maximum likelihood estimator for theta was also the largest order statistics, that is x n. So, in the discrete uniform case also the same thing is happening. The only difference here is that here x i's are taking positive integral values here. Let us take another important discrete distribution, that is hypergeometric distribution. Now, a hypergeometric distribution is usually considered in the following fashion, that there is a large population of size n. This is the size of the population. Now, this population is divided into two parts. Let us say category A and category B. The entire population, for example, we may divide implies of an organization by two categories, that is those who are in the supervisory position and those who are in the working conditions, and that is they are the lower level employees and the higher level employees. We may divide the patients into two groups, say those who are having communicable diseases, those who do not have communicable diseases. We may divide a section of students into the students who are following engineering discipline and the others who are studying say medical discipline. So, we have a large population and the population size of one category is m, and therefore, the other category population has n minus m numbers. Suppose we take a random sample of size small n is taken from the population, and let x denote the number of items means it could be persons or anything of type category A in the sample. Then the probability distribution of x is given by m c x n minus m c n minus x divided by n c n. Now, obviously, this random variable x, it can take values from 0, 1 to n, because in a random sample of size n, you may have none of this category and all of the other category, 1 of one category, n minus 1 of another category, and so on. However, this is also subject to the restrictions of the total elements of each type, and therefore, we may write the restrictions in a more strict sense as that is x is a integer between maximum of 0 and n minus n plus m to minimum of n m. Now, when we look at this probability model, there can be two different cases. One case could be that the total population size is unknown. Now, this type of situation arises, for example, in estimating say we have a lake and a company which is involved in the fishing. It may like to estimate that how much of fish amount will be available in the lake if they start the fishing operations. Now, obviously, one cannot take out the water from the lake and count the how many fish will be there. So, we assume that the size of the population, that is capital N, is unknown. Now, one may conduct the following experiment, which is known as capture recapture technique. We take a random sample of size capital M from the lake. The fish that are taken out, they are tagged, that means they are marked with something. Then they are shifted back to the lake, so that they get mixed up with the entire population of the fish. Later on, we consider a random sample of size n from the fish. Once again, from the lake we again take a random sample of size n. Now, out of that you look at how many of them are tagged and how many of them are untagged. So, now this capital M is known to you and capital N is not known to us, and the problem will come how to estimate capital N. Similarly, there can be another problem where the total population size is known. We may like to estimate how many people are suffering from a certain disease or a certain virus. For example, how many people are infected with HIV virus. In that case, we again take a sample of size n, and in that sample x will denote the number of people who are actually infected with the virus, and then on the basis of that we estimate m. So, in this case capital N may be known, but capital M is unknown. So, when we consider this hypergeometric model, there are two cases. So, case 1 is that M is known, but N is unknown. So, in this case we have to find the maximum likelihood estimator of n. In order to do that, we write the likelihood function. Now, in this case the observation is the sample of size n has been taken and x is the number of items of type category A. So, this is the recorded item. So, this function itself denotes the likelihood function in this particular case, because this is the probability mass function of the observation here. So, the likelihood function is, let me call it L n here. So, that is equal to m c x n minus m c n minus x n c n, and we need to maximize this with respect to capital N. Now, the methods that I mentioned in the previous examples cannot be directly implemented here. The main reason is that here n is an integer. So, we cannot apply differentiation procedure taking log etc. So, we carry out a different analysis. Let us write down, we try to see the increasing or decreasing nature of this function in a straightforward fashion. Let us consider, for example, the value of the likelihood function at n and the value of the likelihood function at n minus 1. So, this is m c x c n minus m c n minus x divided by n c n, and then this whole thing is divided by m c x n minus 1 minus m c n minus x divided by n minus 1 c n. We may expand the factorials here. So, we will get m factorial divided by x factorial. So, this entire thing turns out to be like m factorial divided by x factorial m minus x factorial. Then we have n minus m factorial divided by n minus x factorial, then n minus m minus n plus x factorial. This whole thing is then divided by these terms. So, m factorial x factorial into m minus x factorial. Then we have n minus 1 minus m factorial n minus x factorial and then n minus 1 minus m minus n plus x factorial. Then further we have n minus, and then we had this n c n and n minus 1 c n. So, we write that also n factorial n minus n factorial, and in a similar way this will be n minus 1 factorial n factorial n minus 1 minus n factorial. So, it is easy that one can simplify these terms and we get it as n minus n into n minus m divided by n into n minus m minus n plus x. Now, you notice that this is greater than 1 if n is less than n m by x, and it is less than 1 if n is greater than n m by x. Now, obviously, you can see n is taking integer values from 1, 2 and so on. Now, this ratio, that is L n x divided by L n minus 1 x. So, what we are observing here is that if I increase n, if I from n minus 1 to n if I go, then this ratio is greater. That means, it is an increasing function of n when n is less than n m by x, and when n is bigger than n m by x, then this value starts decreasing. Therefore, you can say that this function increases till this and then decreases. Therefore, the maximum of L n function is achieved when n is equal to n m by x. Now, naturally n m by x need not be an integer, although x, n and m are integers, but this expression need not be an integer. So, we may take the integral portion of n m by x as the maximum likelihood estimator for n. So, we observe that the L function achieves its maximum when n is equal to n m by x, as n m by x need not be an integer. We take n m by x integral portion, that is the largest integer less than or equal to n m by x as the maximum likelihood estimator of n. Now, let us take up the other case when m is unknown. M is unknown and n is known. So, here we want to find out the maximum likelihood estimator of m. Now, once again, if you consider this likelihood function here, I wrote here it as a function of n, because this is coming from the probability mass function of x. Here m and n both are involved. Now, if n is known and m is unknown, I will consider the likelihood function as a function of m. So, the likelihood function will become, although it will be the same expression, it will be written as L m x, let me call it L star. So, this is m c x n minus m c n minus x. Now, as before, we have to consider the maximization of this with respect to m. Now, m is an integer and the factorials are involved here. Therefore, one cannot apply the usual methods of analysis such as differentiation, etc. Rather, we try to see the behavior of this in a straightforward fashion. So, once again we write L star m x divided by L star m minus 1 x. Now, that is equal to m c x n minus m c n minus x. When we write this ratio, n c n will be same. So, that will cancelled out and we will get m minus 1 c x n minus m plus 1 c n minus x. Now, as before, we can simplify this and the term turns out to be m into n minus m plus 1 minus n plus x divided by n minus m plus 1 into m minus x. Now, once again we observe that this ratio, let me call it say alpha x. So, if you observe this ratio, alpha x is greater than 1 if m is less than n plus 1 by n x, and it is less than 1 if m is greater than n plus 1 by n x. So, we can easily see that the L star function, it is increasing for m less than n plus 1 by n x, and it will start decreasing for m greater than this. Therefore, the maximum will be attained at n plus 1 by n x, and therefore, we can consider the integral part of this as the maximum likelihood estimator for m. Clearly, L star m attains its maximum when m is equal to n plus 1 by n x, as this need not be an integer, we may take the integral portion of this as the MLE of m. So, here we have seen that in the discrete case, the method of obtaining the maximum likelihood estimators differs little bit. We have not considered another important distribution which arises quite often in statistical modeling, that is a exponential distribution. Now, the exponential distribution once again has two parameters. It may have a scale parameter, it may have a location parameter. So, I will consider the general model and then we look at the solution here. Let x 1, x 2, x n follow exponential mu sigma distribution. When I say this, we are writing down the density function as 1 by sigma e to the power minus x minus mu by sigma, where x is greater than mu. Here mu can be any real number and sigma is positive. In the usual studies which are related to reliability and life testing, there mu is considered as the minimum guarantee time and there mu will be positive, but in many other applications it need not be so. So, I am taking the general case where mu can take any real value and sigma of course is associated with the average, therefore, sigma is greater than 0. So, we consider the likelihood function here. One by sigma to the power n e to the power minus sigma x I minus mu by. Now, when we are dealing with the 2 parameter situation, one may have different cases. It may happen that the minimum guarantee time is fixed and therefore, we may take it to be 0. It may happen that sigma is fixed and therefore, we may take it to be 1. So, we consider these cases. So, case 1, let us consider say mu is known. So, we may take without loss of generality this to be 0. If that is so, then we may write the likelihood function. If we substitute mu is equal to 0, the form of this function becomes much simple and we get it as, then the likelihood function can be written as L sigma x as 1 by sigma to the power n e to the power minus sigma x I by sigma, where each x I will be greater than 0. So, we write down the log likelihood function. That is equal to minus n log of sigma minus sigma x I by sigma. So, now this is a straightforward function for sigma. We can consider the derivative with respect to sigma and we get minus n by sigma minus sigma x I. So, this will become plus sigma x I by sigma square, which gives us sigma x I minus n sigma by sigma square. Obviously, you can study its behavior. It will be greater than 0 if sigma is less than x bar. It will be less than 0 if sigma is greater than x bar. So, if we consider the plotting of the curve as a function of sigma, if we plot L sigma, now sigma is of course positive. So, this is starting from 0. So, this is increasing till x bar and thereafter it is decreasing, because our derivative is positive for sigma less than x bar and it is less than 0 for sigma greater than x bar. Therefore, easily you can see that the maximum occurs at x bar. So, the maximum likelihood estimator of sigma turns out to be the mean of the distribution. Now, here as before, like we have considered in the normal distribution, one may have additional information about sigma. For example, sigma may be having an upper bound such as sigma less than or equal to sigma naught, or sigma greater than or equal to sigma naught, or sigma may lie in an interval. In that case, the solutions will for the maximum likelihood estimator will get modified accordingly, as we have discussed in the case of normal distribution. So, I will be skipping those descriptions here. Let us take up the second case, when sigma is known. When sigma is known, we may take it to be 1 without loss of generality. Now, in this case the likelihood function can be written as so this is now a function of sigma mu, because sigma is known. So, if you look at the form that I discussed here, 1 by sigma to the power n e to the power minus sigma x I minus mu by sigma. So, here if I put sigma is equal to 1, this term vanishes and you are left with only the exponent term, which I can simply write as e to the power n mu minus sigma x I. So, e to the power n mu minus sigma x I, and of course, each x I is greater than mu, and obviously, this is 0 if let me say elsewhere. Each of x I has to be greater than mu in this particular case. Now, if you look at this function, we have to maximize this with respect to mu here, and this n mu is occurring in the exponent without any multiplication or any other involvement of any other term. So, naturally, you can easily see that the maximization will occur for the maximum value of mu. Now, what is the maximum possible value of mu? Now, mu is less than each of the x i's. Therefore, this region can be written as mu less than x 1 less than x 2 and so on. Therefore, the maximum value of mu can be only x 1. So, the maximum likelihood estimator of mu is x 1 in this case. We can see that L mu is maximized when mu takes its maximum value, and that is x 1 here. Once again here this x 1, x 2, x n denote the order statistics of the original observations. So, mu hat m l is equal to the minimum of the observations here. So, you have seen in the uniform distribution we got the maximum of the observations, and in this particular case we are getting the minimum of the observations. Now, let us take the more important case when both the parameters mu and sigma are unknown. Now, let us go back to the original likelihood function. It was 1 by sigma to the power n e to the power minus sigma x I minus mu by sigma. So, we consider the, now this is having two parts, one part is involving only mu and other part is involving sigma also. So, for convenience we take the log of this. So, log of likelihood function, that is equal to minus n log sigma minus sigma x I by sigma plus n mu by sigma. Now, you can see here the role of mu is quite different, and when we consider the maximization with respect to mu, it will be attained at the maximum value of mu. So, we can easily then see that as before, the maximum value that it can take is so mu hat m l will remain to be x 1. However, for maximization with respect to sigma, we can apply the usual calculus here. So, you can consider derivative with respect to sigma, that will be equal to minus n by sigma plus sigma x I by. So, we may actually put it together, because this was this term. Now, this is equal to 0. If you put this, you get sigma is equal to n times x bar divided by n. So, this n gets cancelled out. So, the maximum likelihood estimator for sigma will be obtained by simply replacing mu by mu head m l. So, sigma head m l is equal to x bar minus x 1. Now, you can see here the effect of partial information and the effect of no information. When the partial information about the parameters was there, then in the case of the estimator of sigma, we got x bar, but now you see it is changed to x bar minus x 1, whereas the effect on the estimation of mu is not there. For when sigma was known or sigma is unknown, the estimation of mu is still the same. Now, in this case I will also consider some special cases. Here let us consider when sigma was known, suppose I have additional prior information, about mu is there in the form say mu less than or equal to 0. Basically, it means that the minimum guarantee time is upper bounded by some number say mu naught, which we have brought down to 0. Now, in this case what will happen? If we look at the form of the likelihood function, this function is an increasing function. This function is an increasing function of mu. It starts from minus infinity, that means it is 0, and then at 0 it will be e to the power something, and then thereafter. Now, if you see, if x 1 is here, then the maximum is occurring at this point, whereas if x 1 is here with respect to 0, then the maximum is occurring here. So, in this case mu head m l, which I will call restricted m l, this will become minimum of x 1 and 0. So, the role of prior information is important here. You consider the second situation. Suppose in place of mu less than or equal to 0, we had mu greater than 0 or greater than or equal to 0. In that case, there will be no change, because x 1 is greater than or equal to mu, which will remain greater than 0. So, the maximum occurrence is at x 1, which is within the zone. So, there will not be any change in the maximum likelihood estimator when I am considering the prior information mu greater than or equal to 0. So, you can actually see that the role of the prior information is different in different situations, and this is the, you can say, beauty of the maximum likelihood procedure, that it takes care of each situation individually. So, this is totally based on the likelihood function. Now, let us consider another important distribution, which is known as Laplace or double exponential distribution. Laplace or double exponential distribution. So, let x 1 x 2 x n be a random sample from double exponential distribution with the probability density function here x is any real number, the parameter mu is any real number and sigma is a positive parameter. As before, we may have different situations like mu may be known, so we may put it to be 0, when sigma may be known and we may put it to be 1, etc. So, let us consider the case when say mu is known, say mu is equal to 0. So, in this case the likelihood function is 1 by 2 sigma to the power n e to the power minus sigma modulus x I by sigma. So, the log likelihood function that is equal to minus n log 2 minus n log sigma minus sigma modulus x I by sigma. So, if we consider d L by d sigma, that is equal to minus n by sigma plus sigma modulus x I by sigma square. So, if you put this equal to 0, of course, you can adjust the term, this is equal to sigma modulus x I minus n sigma by sigma square, which you can easily see that it is greater than 0 if sigma is greater than if sigma is less than 1 by n sigma modulus x I, and it is less than 0 if sigma is greater than 1 by n sigma modulus x I. So, the maximum occurs at 1 by n sigma modulus x I. So, L sigma attains its maximum at 1 by n sigma modulus x I. So, the maximum likelihood estimator of equal to 1 by n sigma modulus x I. Let us take the second case when sigma is known. And once again, since sigma is a scale parameter, we may take it to be 1 without loss of generality. In this case, the likelihood function is equal to 1 by 2 to the power n e to the power minus sigma modulus x I minus mu. Now, you see here, this will be maximized with respect to mu if sigma of modulus x I minus mu is minimized. L is maximized with respect to mu when sigma of modulus x I minus mu is minimized. Now, one can show that this is minimized when mu is the median of the observations, because this modulus term is coming. Therefore, you can't use the usual differentiation procedure here. However, we can give a direct argument. We can show here that sigma modulus of x I minus mu, let me call it S, is minimized when mu is a median of x 1, x 2, x n. Let me consider two cases. So, we write S as say sigma, and in place of the x i's we consider the ordered x i's. Ordered values of x 1, x 2, x n. That means, x 1 is the minimum, x 2 is the second minimum, and so on as before. Now, we give argument in two cases. Let us take say n, that is say n is equal to something like 2 k plus 1. Now, this sum S we express like this: x 1 minus mu plus x 2 minus mu plus and so on, x 2 k minus mu plus x 2 k plus 1 minus mu. This we express as say x 1 minus mu plus x 2 k plus 1 minus mu. That means, I have taken the first term and the last term. Then I take the second term and the second last term, x 2 minus mu and x 2 k minus mu, and so on. That is, finally, we will have x k minus mu plus x k plus 2 minus mu, and the last term then will be remaining, that is x k plus 1 minus mu. What we do? We look at the minimization of each of these terms which I have clubbed together. So, if you look at these two, here it is the x 1 and this is x 2 k plus 1. If I consider mu to be any value between these two, then this will turn out to be x 2 k plus 1 minus x 1, that will be the minimum value. So, let us write the complete argument here. In S, the term x 1 minus mu plus x 2 k plus 1 minus mu is minimum, that is, the value will be x 2 k plus 1 minus x 1. Whenever I choose mu to be a number between x 1 and x 2 k plus 1. Similarly, the term x 2 minus mu plus x 2 k minus mu, this is minimum, and of course, the minimum value will be x 2 k minus x 2 whenever x 2 is less than or equal to mu less than or equal to x 2 k. So, in that way, if you look at all the sums, they will be minimum whenever mu lies between the two values which are involved in those two terms. So, if we continue this argument, the term x k minus mu plus x k plus 2 minus mu will be minimum when x k is less than or equal to mu less than or equal to x k plus 2. Finally, x k plus 1 minus mu will be minimum when mu is equal to x k plus 1. We have considered the term by term minimization of this S. So, we have taken this and this together, then these two together and so on. We have derived the condition for the minimization of each of these. Now, therefore, the overall minimum will be attained if all the conditions are simultaneously satisfied. Now, if you see all the conditions to be simultaneously satisfied, what will be the condition? This is the widest interval, because this is from minimum to the maximum. This interval is the second, and so on. So, if I look at this scale here, x 1, x 2, x 2 k, x 2 k plus 1, somewhere you have x k plus 1 and x k plus 2. So, from the first one mu should be any value between these two, from the second one mu should be any value between these two, from the third one, and so on, and finally, you are getting the value that is x k plus 1. So, if mu is x k plus 1, each of these terms that I have clubbed together, they will be the minimum. Therefore, overall S will be minimized. So, S will be minimized when mu is equal to x k plus 1, because this will satisfy all the conditions. So, we conclude that mu hat m l is equal to x k plus 1, that is actually the median of x 1, x 2, x 2 k plus 1, because when the number of observations is odd, the middle value will be the median here. Now, let us consider the case when n may be even. N is even, say n is equal to 2 k. Now, in this case, once again we may consider the clubbing in the similar fashion. However, this last term will not be there. Therefore, we will write the clubbing in this fashion: x 1 minus mu plus x 2 k minus mu plus x 2 minus mu plus x 2 k minus 1 minus mu, and so on. In the final, it will be x m minus mu plus x k minus mu and x k plus 1 minus mu. So, if we give the argument as before, arguing as before, S will be minimum when x m is less than or equal to mu less than or equal to x m plus 1, because now on a scale x 1, x 2, x m plus 1, x 2 m minus 1, x 2 m. So, here this first this will be k here. So, here if you see, the first term here will be minimum when mu lies between the largest interval. The second one will be minimum when the mu lies between x 2 to x 2 k minus 1, and so on. The last sum will be minimized when mu lies between x k to x k plus 1. Now, if mu lies between x k to x k plus 1, when we have even number of observations, that is x 1, x 2, x 2 k, any number between x k to x k plus 1 is called a median. For convenience, many times we take the average of these two values, that is x k plus 1 by 2. So, this we conclude that mu is a median of x 1, x 2, x 2 k. So, where we may take it to be x k plus x k plus 1 by 2. So, we have mu head m l equal to the median of x 1, x 2, x n. In both the cases we are getting median, we denote it by say m. So, now let us consider the important case when both the parameters may be unknown. So, both mu and sigma are unknown. In this case, the likelihood function is equal to 1 by 2 sigma to the power n e to the power minus sigma modulus x I minus mu by sigma. So, we take the log here, that is equal to minus n log 2 minus n log sigma minus sigma x I minus mu by sigma. So, as before, the maximization with respect to mu will occur when sigma of modulus x I minus mu is minimum, and we have already shown that this is occurring when mu is a median. So, L is maximized with respect to mu when sigma of modulus x I minus mu is minimized, that is at mu equal to median of x 1, x 2, x n. So, mu head m l is equal to the median which we are calling m. Now, you look at the solution for sigma. If we consider the derivative of L with respect to sigma, we get minus n by sigma plus sigma modulus x I minus mu by sigma square. And as before, if we argue, this is attaining the maximum value at sigma is equal to 1 by n sigma modulus x I minus mu. Now, we have already obtained the solution for mu. If we substitute it here, you get the maximum value of the maximized value of likelihood function for sigma equal to 1 by n sigma modulus of x I minus m. So, sigma head m l is equal to 1 by n sigma modulus x I minus m, which is nothing but the mean deviation about median. Mean deviation about median. So, today friends, we have discussed various probability models and we have discussed the maximum likelihood estimators for those models. I have tried to cover various cases here, and another thing is that we will take up some different cases where either the maximum likelihood estimator is not unique, it may not exist, and then we will consider the large sample properties of the maximum likelihood estimators in the next class.